I love meat, just like Goku and Luffy, but it seems like people specifically prefer beef. Now that Gear 5 has hit the mainstream through anime, for some reason we're having the debate about whether this moment was more iconic than Super Saiyan, which is just a wild statement because I feel like it's a debate centered around a word that's taken out of context. Being an icon implies that it's something that serves as a symbol for some meaning that is understood by others. Some examples, though maybe people forgot, the Nike Jumpman logo is an icon for Michael Jordan. The moonwalk is iconic to Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson is iconic to music, known as the King of Pop. Or to think of it in reverse, if I asked you what the pyramids remind you of, you'd probably say Egypt. Or if I asked you who's the best soccer player in the world, whatever your answer is probably would be right, and they're most likely iconic for football worldwide. But you wouldn't turn around and say the phenomenon Ronaldo and Pele aren't less iconic just because they were from an era you weren't a part of, especially when Messi is also inspired by those icons. And that's a huge point. An icon generally starts off as someone or something that inspires others to behave a certain way. So if we're looking at just Super Saiyan versus Gear 5, well, one, they wouldn't even be icons in the same genre in my opinion. Gear 5 is literally meant to be an icon for freedom and liberation, whereas going Super Saiyan is an icon for leveling up and drawing power from yourself to overcome any odd, whether it's from training or emotions, which is why going Super Saiyan is iconic for gym motivation. And personally, the stories of moms lifting cars to save their children would be them going Super Saiyan. In that regard, I don't think I'd ever use the term Gear 5 in those scenarios. And so if you want to then say Gear 5 is more iconic to the anime industry, well then we have to go back to the inspirational aspect of being an icon. Unfortunately, Gear 5 hasn't reached the levels of inspiration Super Saiyan has, but will it? Maybe, but to say it's more iconic than Dragon Ball right now isn't really respectful to anime history, because it's not a secret that One Piece drew some inspiration from Dragon Ball. As Oda said, Toriyama was one of his favorite mangakas. As an example, some people think this singular panel from Dragon Ball in 1995 was the inspiration for Luffy's character design, which could honestly be the case. But going back to the debate, which was specifically about the power-ups, we have to recognize that just like how the big three, One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, inspired so much fiction after their debut, Dragon Ball inspired so much of the big three and shonen in general. So not acknowledging Dragon Ball for what it did is the same energy as not knowing that the big three isn't an opinion, it's a title. All of that is why this image of anime MCs makes sense. And as far as symbols go, outside of the screaming power level over 9,000 moment of Super Saiyan, there's a reason why literally every time there's an aura in any anime, even decades later, we call it going Super Saiyan. Let's not forget when One Piece had the whole aura problem, people said it felt like Dragon Ball. Let's also not forget that Toei decided to rehash the iconic Super Saiyan sound effects even within Gear 5's debut, which is a bit annoying, but does that make Gear 5 any less of an icon because it has nods to an ancestor? No, because that's part of the nature of what an icon is meant to do, inspire. So for Gear 5, I think the icon stands for smiling through pain. Anytime I see that, I think Luffy, I think Gear 5. Now, I don't want to spoil too much of what's to come for anime viewers, but when someone laughs during a serious fight, that's Gear 5. When you disrespect your opponent to the point they become a meme, that's Gear 5. When someone gets super creative during a fight and surprises you, that's Gear 5. I'm not gonna see Gear 5 at the gym, I'm gonna see it in a street fight. Gear 5 is when you die for what you believe in and laugh in death, stay alive somehow, and break reality while you clown on your opponent. As far as fighting goes, Gear 5 is iconic, but the entire point of it was that it breaks the shonen stereotype of making battles too serious. Oda in 2022 said, "I drew Gear 5 as a big joke. Battle manga becomes more serious when they follow readers' expectations. I hate that. I didn't want my manga to be too serious, so I had fun achieving Gear 5 with the fight against Kaido." With that quote, you can put this all into perspective. Dragon Ball set a standard, and Oda is trying to birth a new standard, not replace it. In order for Gear 5 to reach the level that Super Saiyan has as an influence on anime, we have to wait and see, because I personally think that bringing Rubber Hose Toon Force animation to the anime world alone could be game changing. I hope and wish that anime in general goes through a change that makes them break from the standard for story progression and even animation. But if I had to think of how Gear 5 personally will be iconic and referenced in other fiction, it will be when I'm watching a serious situation and I'm forced to smile or get up and jump around and laugh. That will be a Gear 5 moment for me. Now, a lot of people don't like having a mixed bag of emotions. For some reason, something can't touch on serious topics while also being comical. But with all of the government corruption, slavery, and dark history present in One Piece, remember, we are still sailing for the ultimate goal at Laugh Tale. When the series ends, we will be laughing, dancing, and crying at some party, just like how Oda has basically shown us we will from the start. The hysteria alone will be historical, and just like Dragon Ball created history in an era when One Piece didn't exist, One Piece has been creating history in the era after, even into the current one, and hopefully both will be carried into the new era, remembered as icons and legends for the anime world to never forget. I feel like arguing for anything else would be meat riding against anime, and don't get me wrong,